Assalamu alaikum. You are now tuning to Shakil Co on America's Islamic Radio. I'm your host, Kevin Shakil, and today's exciting interview is sponsored by Your Realtor, JG Advisors, Elements Dental, AT&T Astoria, The Mugs and Beans, Tech Bites, Gyro Spot, Freedom Line Brokerage, and Glide Management. Today we have none other than America's Islamic Radio's own sponsor, Ismail Kolia, associate broker and shareholder for EXP Realty. Assalamu alaikum.
Wow,
How you doing today, Ish?
You said like a pro.
It's been a year, so I think I have to get it done now.
I think you got it done.
How's your day going so far?
My day is going amazing. Alhamdulillah, I'm super blessed. I'm having a great day. Thank you.
Listen, on behalf of America's Islamic Radio, we want to thank you for being a continued sponsor for America's Islamic Radio, and we value your sponsorship, we value your support, and we're so glad he's out here. I'm just ecstatic right now.
Thank you.
Honestly,
I can feel the energy.
It's amazing, man. Listen, it's late at night right now, and we're still going at it.
That's right. That's right.
So, Ishmael, how was your day today? What did you do today specifically? Because you were just telling me a little story right now.
My day is going fantastic. I started my day by teaching. I teach at a real estate association in White Plains, New York, one of the biggest associations in the United States with 11,000 members, merging with Long Island Board soon. That will mean about 40,000 members. So I teach a few classes there, and then we just came from a networking dinner sponsored by the law offices of Amina Rashad. So thank you, Amina, for that.
Thank you.
Fantastic event, meeting so many different people. And now, to top it all off, I'm here, meeting you and seeing you, and sponsoring a cause that is near and dear to me. So great day.
Amazing day. So, Ishmael, I want to get right into it, right? I want our viewers to get to know exactly who you are. So, Ish, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
All right. So, again, my name is Ismail. Originally from India, came to the U.S. when I was 13, one of 11 siblings. My dad is a retired mailman. My mom is a homemaker. They worked very hard their whole lives, all day, every day, kind of just very, very hard work. Raised 11 kids. I was 13 when I came to the U.S. in 91, went to school in the Bronx, went to college in the Bronx as well. My education is in health administration. I worked for Sloan Kettering for a number of years before launching myself into business with a few partners back in 2005. And I've been in business since 2005. I've been an entrepreneur since then, various lines, various businesses. Yeah, and that's a little bit about me.
A little bit about you. So now you're into real estate. How did you get into real estate?
So as I said, I've been an entrepreneur since 2005. That means, having control over my own income, not having to wait for a salary or a raise, not also having a boss over my shoulders and so forth. So having that entrepreneurial spirit and being used to that entrepreneurial life, real estate really spoke to me, right? That's the beauty of real estate as well, in that you control your income. You determine how much you are going to make this year, and you also are not answering and answerable to a boss. So that's why I got into real estate. I initially got into real estate about 6 years ago. I joined an office in the Bronx. I didn't really get the environment that I needed, and so I actually dropped out of real estate. Real estate is one of those fields that is easy to get into. And in business, that's called barriers to entry. That means the fewer the barriers, the more people will enter, right? So real estate is one of those fields that has a few barriers to entry, and therefore a lot of people become real estate agents. Becoming real estate agent is actually the easy part. Making money is the tough part. So because I was not part of a right team 6 years ago, I also dropped out of real estate. 3 years ago, I went and renewed my license. I joined a different team, much more focused, much more dedicated, nurturing, motivating team, and I had a whole different experience, and I'm having a phenomenal time since then. So that's how I got into real estate.
If you guys are now tuning in, you're tuning to Shakil Co on American Islamic Radio. We're interviewing Mr. Ismail Koilia from eXp Realty. He's an official sponsor on American Islamic Radio, and we're having a beautiful conversation. So you talked about these barriers that to enter as a real estate agent. What kind of barriers did you have to go through?
Well, in real estate, you don't actually have a whole lot of barriers. So, but in terms of somebody who's looking to enter real estate, it's quite simple. You need a 75 for New York. You need 75 hours of education, real estate education. It's called a salesperson course, and beyond that, you need to pass a New York State real estate salesperson licensing exam. Once you do those things, you are now a real estate agent. You need to find a sponsoring broker who is going to be supervising your work and mentoring you, and work under their auspices and work under their guidance.
So how hard is it to find one of those sponsoring brokers?
It's not difficult at all. There are brokers everywhere that are looking for agents to work for them. So finding a broker is not difficult. And oftentimes agents or new agents will look at the interview process as, okay, the broker is interviewing me. The broker is hiring me, which is correct. But at the same time, it's a two-way interview. It's a two-sided street, right? So you also want to make sure that you are interviewing the broker as well. Make sure it's the right team and the right environment for you.
So what kind of questions should someone ask, and how would you know if it's the right fit for you?
Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to meet with 3-4 different offices, preferably 3-4 offices that come recommended by someone in the business or someone that you know who has done business with them. So that's step number one. And then meet with them, interview them, and ask questions in terms of the amount of or the type of training that is provided, the amount of support, the type of support that is provided. Ask to join their weekly or monthly meeting if they have any. Ask to join one of their training sessions before you actually make the decision to join them as an agent. And so sit in one of those trainings and office meetings, and you'll feel the energy from other agents that are part of the team, and you'll feel the vibe. You want to make sure that it's the right environment for you where you fit in. Yeah.
And then, we have so many major real estate firms, right? And we have a lot of private ones. What is the difference between going to a major firm and a private firm?
Sure. When you're a new agent, your focus should be to find a local team close to you that has lots of training and tools to help you grow. You don't necessarily need to focus on a brand name or a big name when you're fairly new. You want that highly specialized local support and training that's going to help you grow. Most buyers and sellers make their decision based on the person that is sitting across from them, right? So the one-on-one relationship. Of course, the name plays a role in the decision making, but it's not the major deciding factor. Right? If I like you and if I want to do business with you, whether you work for ABC or XYZ, it's almost irrelevant.
So if you guys are now tuning in, you're tuning to Shakil Co on American Islamic Radio. We're having a great discussion with Islamic Realtor, Mr. Ismail Koilia. Sorry, man. I told you I'm gonna kill it one of these times.
I'm actually surprised when people get it right.
From eXp Realty, and we're having a great discussion. So I just want to ask another question, because I'm gonna keep asking you questions because I'm really intrigued, right?
Absolutely.
As a person who's a millennial, who has a good job, steady income, and I'm looking to get a house.
Yeah.
What should I be saving? What should I be doing? Who should I be reaching out to? What are the steps if I want to get a house? What are the steps for somebody like myself who's a millennial?
Sure. And I'm glad that you asked that question. And we should all have this mentality of buying a house. Owning real estate is the fastest way to grow and build wealth in America. Right? Some rich folks have jets and some rich folks have yachts, but they all have real estate. right? So what does that tell you? Real estate is the fastest way to build wealth in America. There's a lot of growth. There's a lot of appreciation there. There are also a lot of tax benefits. There are a lot of tax laws that are designed to benefit homeowners, right? So you certainly want to, I want to inspire all of our listeners into thinking how they can become a homeowner. And it is actually easier than most people think. Most people think it's very difficult. They need a whole lot of this and a whole lot of that. So oftentimes it's a lot easier, and I'll go over the details. When it comes to home ownership and buying a house, typically you need to look at four things. One is your income. Most lenders will require 2 years of stable employment in the same line of work. Doesn't have to be the same a company, but same line of work. Unless you're a recent graduate, then many companies will look to see if you've been working 6 months after graduation, and they'll want to see that degree. So number one is stable employment. Number two is a down payment. You can buy a single family house, depending on your income, but you can buy a single family house with as little as 3% down payment. So in the New York market, a single family home may be about $500,000. 3% of that is $15,000. That is quite doable for most people.
So let's say you have $15,000, right? And I want to buy this house for $500,000, right?
Sure.
How would I go about that process? What's the next step? I have $15,000 in my hand right now. I found a house for $500,000. What do I do next?
Right. So before I go on the process, I want to finish the other two things that you would need.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're great. Keep the questions coming. So 3% for a single family home and 5% for a multifamily house. So again, if there's a multifamily house for $600,000, 5% of that is $30,000. That's approximately the cash you need. You need more money than that for closing costs and so forth, but sometimes the closing costs can be put into the mortgage as well, under what's known as seller concession. So, but there are ways to work around that. I've helped a young family earlier this year, that only had $18,000. Now they own a beautiful home in the Bronx with grass on all four sides.
Amazing.
Right? They were cramped in a 1-bedroom apartment before. Now they've got a 3-bedroom plus a whole basement, parking, and yard all around. So it is it is doable more than many people think. So number one is stable employment. Number two is down payment. Number three is your credit. So you want to make sure that you have good credit. You don't want to open credit cards that you don't need. And so forth. You don't want to open too many credit cards. Oftentimes when we go to department stores and so forth, at the checkout they offer 10% discount for opening their
25% off.
25%, 5%, 10% for opening their store card. It sounds very enticing, but when you think about it, it's only $10 or $20 that you're saving, but that's an additional hit on your credit. So you have to ask yourself, is it really worth it for me? You want to safeguard your credit because that is a means of opening many doors in this country. And then the fourth is your liabilities. Right? What are you liable for? What are you responsible for in terms of paying? What's on your shoulder? So, for example, your car lease or car financing, your student loans, your credit card loans, and so forth. You want to learn to live within your means, and you also want to learn to live simply. You don't need to drive that Ferrari if you can drive a Jeep like I do, right? If that means that the ability to buy a house, right? I rather buy a house than own a Ferrari, to be honest with you, right? So you want to ask yourself, hey, is this next purchase that I'm about to make, is this a liability or an asset, right? So buying a Ferrari is a liability. It's a cost. It doesn't really bring anything for me besides some fame, I guess, right? Or some status. But owning a house, it's going to be an asset. Right? Even there, you have to make sure that you're buying the right type of house and so forth. So those are the four things in a nutshell that you want to keep in mind: a stable income, enough money in the bank for your down payment, and the money has to be in the bank. It cannot be in the mattress and so forth. It has to be traceable, or it has to be in the bank for at least 2-3 months before you approach a lender. Number three is your credit score, and number four are your liabilities. So those are four things. In terms of the process of buying a house, the process should begin with meeting with either a real estate agent and then working with a mortgage company, or meeting with the mortgage company and then connecting with a real estate agent. So the very first thing you should do, or one of the very first things you should do in your home buying process, is get a mortgage pre-approval.
What's all that about?
What that does is it sets the tone for your affordability. What can you afford, right? Imagine going into a shopping mall and not knowing what's in your pocket. You don't know what's in your pocket, right? You don't know if you have cash. You don't even know if you have any credit cards. You don't know what's in your credit card. Imagine going into a mall with no idea what's in your pocket. That's kind of what it is like starting to look for a house and you're not pre-approved. You're quite blind about your affordability. Secondly, the professionals that you're going to interact with are not going to take you seriously. The agents in real estate are not going to take you seriously when they find out that you're not pre-approved for a mortgage. Sellers will not take you seriously. Seller agents will not take you seriously. And many times you won't actually even get to see the house. Right? Even if you do get to see the house and you like the house, now it's time to make an offer. Your offer will not be presented or taken seriously without a pre-approval. So again, you're really just doing a disservice to yourself by looking at houses without having a pre-approval. So one of the first things you want to do is you want to approach a mortgage company. We're blessed to have Islamic mortgage companies, alhamdulillah, in this country. There are numerous ones. Our listeners can reach out to me, and I'm happy to connect them with a mortgage company. I used to be part of Guidance Residential as well, so I personally have experience with Guidance in the past, and I can answer some of those questions about mortgages. And so once you get your pre-approval, and in order to get the pre-approval, you'll have to submit 2 years of tax returns, 2 months of bank statements, 30 days of pay stubs, and your photo ID. Once you submit those, you'll have your pre-approval within a number of days, and then you start working with a real estate agent, right? The next right thing that you want to do is you want to work with one agent. Find an agent that you're comfortable with. Find an agent. Well, if I'm in your area, I'm more than happy to help you and your family. If I'm not in your area, I'm more than happy to recommend you to one.
And what areas do you cover, Mr. Ish?
I'm licensed in all of New York. However, I specialize in the Bronx and Westchester markets. That's my specialty. And I do have partners all over the geography, as well as Queens, Long Island, and other parts of New York. And I have connections across the United States. But you want to work with an agent that is knowledgeable in your area. That agent is going to be able to serve you properly. Secondly, make sure that agent comes recommended by someone that you know, and not just a number out of a phone book, so to speak.
Do they even make those anymore?
I'm not sure. They used to in my days. So work with one agent. Many buyers, unfortunately, will make the mistake of not committing to one agent, right? And unfortunately, many agents are not doing the job properly of asking the buyer to work one-on-one with them as well. I'll tell you a quick story. Before I bought my house in 2013, 6 years ago, I must have seen about 100 houses. And I'm not exaggerating. I must have seen about 100 houses, and I must have worked with about 30, 40 agents, each agent showing me a couple of houses. Finally, I bought my house many months and many years later. None of those 30, 40 agents ever asked me to work exclusively with them one-on-one. If I had been asked, I may have picked one of those agents, and I may have bought my house much sooner than what it took me to do, right? So as a buyer, I'm advising you that find one agent, find the right agent, and work one one-on-one with them. When an agent knows that you are working exclusively with them, they're going to give you better attention and better focus than they would if they knew that you're working with many agents. So work with one agent exclusively. Also, make it clear with the agent. First of all, make it clear with yourself and your family members the wants and needs. What is it that we must have in this house? Right? For example, we must have 3 bedrooms.
We must have a pool.
Right. That sounds more like a want. We want a pool. We don't need a pool.
That's my wife's requirement.
Okay.
A pool.
Whatever it is, what you want to do is you and your family members want to sit down and write down 2 lists. Make 2 lists. One list would be things that you absolutely must have, things that you're not going to sacrifice or negotiate, such as we must have 3 bedrooms, we must have parking. For some people, being close to masjid is a very must. For some people, being close to bus or subway is very important, right? And then also make a list of wants, right? Some people want to have a balcony, some people want to have a 4th bedroom, some people would like to have a bedroom on the 1st floor, but it's not must. Some people would like to have a swimming pool, but it's not a must, right? So make a list of must-haves and nice-to-haves, right? And then communicate that information with your agent. Be very clear with your agent. Say, hey, this is what we must have, and these are some things that we would like to have. When your agent has a clear idea of what you want, that agent is able to be able to do their job properly and find you your house sooner rather than later. Your goal as a first-time home buyer, I'd like to advise you, your goal should not be to see 20, 30, 40 houses. If you're working with the right agent and if you have communicated clearly to your agent what is important to you in this house, you should be able to see 5 to 10 houses and find that right house. I've sold, alhamdulillah, over the last 2 years, I've done about 24 deals, roughly 1 per month, and most of my buyers have seen less than 5 houses.
Wow.
Most of my buyers have seen less than 5 houses. One of the things I do with my buyers is I listen very closely to what it is that they are telling me. And I ask them to make that list of wants and needs, right? What must you have in the house and what would be nice to have in the house? And then I email them and show them properties that fit everything that is a must for them and that also has a few of the wants. So chances are that they like the 1st, 2nd, 3rd house that I show them. I've sold first house I showed my buyer, a 2nd house to a different buyer, 3rd house to a different buyer that they bought. So when you apply these disciplines in your home search, you're going to have a much smoother time.
If you guys are now tuning in, you're tuning to Shakil Co on American Islamic Radio. We have none other than one of America's own sponsors, Islamic Realtor here, and we're having a great discussion. Now, we know in the beginning of the interview, we were talking about the process and how to buy a house and find the right real estate agent. Let's say there's a real estate agent out there, right, that's listing the house, and you're working with them, and it's just not going well, but you really, really want this house. What can a person do?
So you are speaking as the buyer.
As the buyer.
You are the buyer. You're trying to buy a house, and there's a listing agent with a property.
Yep. And they're not budging. They're not responding.
Got it.
You're not getting any phone calls back.
Right.
What do I do?
That's a great question, by the way. A lot of people in our community have the false impression that if they work directly with the listing agent, that they're going to get a deal, that they're going to get they have a better shot of getting the deal because the listing agent will be able to keep the whole commission, and therefore the listing agent is more inclined to work with them. That's a false impression, and that's a myth that many people in our community have. The truth is, the listing agent is obligated to work with every buyer, regardless of who the agent is for them, who the agent representing them is. Having said that, every buyer, I recommend you should have your own agent. The listing agent has been hired by the seller to do one thing:
So
get the house sold and at the highest price possible. That's their job. That's what they've been hired for. So if you now employ that agent to help you buy that house, that agent is now working under dual agency, right? That means that agent is representing both you and the seller, and that agent is obligated and required to represent both parties fairly. But ideally, you want to have your own agent as a buyer's agent. The seller has hired their agent, and the seller's agent is doing everything they can to negotiate on behalf of the seller, and so should you. It does not eliminate or lower your chances of getting the deal. The truth is, every offer that is presented to the seller's agent has to be presented to the seller by law. Right, so imagine you're the buyer and you have your own agent, and your agent presents an offer to the listing agent. That listing agent is required by law to bring that offer to the seller's attention. Otherwise, they're risking their license and business. So you do not lower your chances of getting the deal by working with your own agent. So if you are still having difficulty reaching that agent, I suggest get your own agent. Mm-hmm. Your agent, when that agent knows that they're being contacted via phone, text, email by another agent, they're going to be on their toes because they know that another professional is reaching out to them, and there could be more repercussions if they don't behave properly. So my advice is get your own agent and have your agent represent you. Another way to get some attention is reach out to the broker of the agent, right? Because the broker is responsible for supervising the actions of the agent. So reach out to the broker of the office and say, hey, I've been trying to reach your agent. I've not been able to. Perhaps you can help me. Right? Maybe there's a good reason, right? Maybe the agent is out of town or not feeling well, or whatever the reason may be, but reach out to the broker. If the agent in question happens to be the broker owner himself or herself, then you can reach out to the local MLS board, multiple listing service board, which is the Realtor Association that they may be a part of, or you can reach out to New York State Department of State, because we are all licensed by Department of State, and then you can file your complaint with the state about an agent that is not serving your needs. So that's the route you want to go. But however, the best way to have a good hassle-free experience is have your own buyer's agent representing you in this deal. This is a very big purchase. Most Americans do not buy anything bigger than a house. A house is the biggest thing most Americans ever buy, and it's a major deal. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're talking 10, 20, 30, 40-year commitment to this property for you and your family. So you really want to have a professional working on your behalf and in your corner. And oftentimes in real estate, it doesn't cost you anything or much to have your own agent, because a lot of times the buyer's agent is compensated from the seller's side at the closing. So what other industries or what other lines of work can you think of where you have a licensed, educated, and experienced professional guiding you and helping you for 2, 3, 4, 5 months without costing you anything? There are not any lines that I can think of. So certainly, again, one more time, have a buyer's agent represent you.
Thank you so much, Ish, for all this wonderful information. And one of our viewers are actually listening to us right now. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at info@americanislamicradio.com, and we'll get the questions to Ish. Ish, if a person wants to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you?
Best way to reach out to me is my phone, 914-215-1540. I'm great with text messages as well as phone calls. My email is ishyourrealtor@gmail.com. I'm also quite active on social media. I do answer questions from people, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, or LinkedIn as well. You can look me up as Ish Your Realtor on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. But yeah, I'm happy to answer your questions, whether you hired me to help you out or not. I'm certainly more than happy to answer your questions, steer you in the right directions, recommend you some professionals, whether it's inspectors for the property, real estate lawyers, mortgage professionals, home insurance companies, and so forth.
Listen, he does it all, and we are happy to have you as an official sponsor for American Islamic Radio. We don't take that lightly. Thank you so much for all of your support. And Ish will have a monthly interview show here on American Islamic Radio. And I think next we're going to start talking about foreclosure and auction houses and what's the difference. So
great.
let's get that ready. And if you viewers have any questions, make sure you reach out to us at American Islamic Radio at info@americanislamicradio.com. Subject line Ish, and ask your questions, and we will ask them here live on American Islamic Radio. This interview was sponsored by Ish Your Realtor, JG Advisors, Element Center, AT&T Storia, The Mugs and Beans, Tech Bites, Jara Spot, Freedom Line Brokerage, and Glide Management. Assalamu alaikum. Until next time.